Well, hi everybody. I'm very excited to share this video with you. And this is something that I think has always been on the periphery of the work that I do in sobriety when we start to kind of talk about healing and energy and kind of vibration, all this kind of stuff. So I am thrilled to welcome Corrina Morris, who is an expert in the field of Feng Shui. And it's something that has just been creeping up on my radar a little bit in terms of I see some interesting medical information about the linkage between clutter and mental health and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm going to shut up for a second and I just want to say a massive welcome and just tell us a little bit more about what it is you do and why you're passionate about it and how it helps people.
Thank you so much. So I'm Corrina and I'm from Surrey. And I would say I've been doing this for the last couple of years. This certainly wasn't my background, but it's kind of, I know this sounds a bit cheesy, but it's kind of found me. It's kind of accidental. I was looking into doing new things. My background was in a lot of well-being, but I was a makeup artist and beauty therapist for about 25 years. So
Amazing.
Feng Shui wasn't my background.
Yeah.
However, finding it has quite literally been the best thing, not only because I love it so much, but because it's actually changed so much in my home. But we can obviously talk about testimonials and things later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably found it a good couple of years ago, and I met this incredible lady and I started following her and learning more and more about it in a modern day approach, because I'd always heard about feng shui. I mean, let's face it, it's over 4,000 years old, this practice, but I didn't really understand it and I didn't really get it. So, and I just thought, oh, I don't understand. How can energy move around a chair? Like, if we place a chair over here, how does that make any difference? But
Yeah.
when I started to learn it in this real modern day way, my ears started to prick up and I thought, this is really interesting. And the
Mm.
more I was learning from her, I thought, you know what, I just have to do the course. So I did the course and here we are today. Um, and now I'm helping people all over the world because I don't physically have to go into somebody's home to do this. I can do all of this remotely by
Amazing.
taking pieces of information basically about people's houses.
So, I mean, and I think with the work I do, when I see people's transition, they go from a place of, I'm not going to say necessarily illness, but sort of unwellness, and they start to look after themselves a little bit more. Maybe they'll start going down the gym, they start to look after themselves kind of within. But also, I also hear a lot of people saying about, yeah, I'm starting to take care of the home that I've neglected. I'm tidying, I'm cleaning. And, this kind of as within, so without sort of thing. And I think there is a real linkage here. I mean, I guess I have my perception around what feng shui is. And, you think about people going in and clapping in the corner of rooms and things like that. But what would be the kind of the kind of the elevator pitch, I suppose, in terms of what it is and kind of and how it benefits people, I suppose.
Yeah. So, firstly, I just want to say that you don't have to believe in it for it to work. You've just got to do it and
Yeah.
then let it all flow. And literally, the word flow I use all the time because it's about the energy flowing and moving around your home. So, like I say, it's a 4,000-year-old Chinese practice,
Yep.
but it's all to do with the energy in your home. And if there are blockages of that energy within your home, then it can cause certain things, such as you might be finding that there's a lot of tension in your home, you might find that there's a lot of arguments going on. It could affect your health, your mental health, your career, how much money you're earning. There are so many things that that energy can affect within your home if it's blocked. But also what we can do is, obviously, once we've got an analysis done and we can get that energy flowing, then it's incredible what it can do, you know, and to help to boost all of those different things. So very briefly, it kind of, put it this way, it's like acupuncture. So it's like acupuncture, but for the home. That's a really simple way of putting it. So if
Amazing.
you've got a blockage in your body, an energy blockage in your body, then it could be causing you pain, discomfort, or something else. So then you go for that acupuncture and it sort of unblocks that energy. And that's what we're doing, but simply for the home. So that's kind of an easy way of kind of looking
No, no,
at it.
I completely get that because I in the work I do, I do a lot of work with tapping, thought field
Yes.
therapy or emotion free, where you're literally tapping on acupuncture points.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I see a lot of people are like, what, you want me to, sit and tap on the back of my hand and move my eyes and all of these different points. And again, it's something that it's kind of a mechanical process. You don't have to believe in it.
Yeah.
I think it can maybe be a little bit helpful, but it doesn't seem to affect the outcome.
Yeah.
But when I see the impact that has on even the most profound skeptic, where people just say, "Oh my goodness, I feel lighter, I feel freer," I just, it is almost like that unblocking kind of exercise. And I think, we are affected by our environment. I often use the example when I'm talking about the subconscious mind and about how we're driven by feelings. I use the example that if you were going house hunting, for example, the estate agent could send you to go and look at a house that ticks every single box on your list of what you would want. But if you walk in that front door and you just go, this place does not feel right, you absolutely 100% will not buy that house, because that always overtakes your kind of rational mind. It can have the right number of bedrooms, bathrooms, a garage, garden, all this kind of stuff. But if you just don't like it, you don't even have to explain it.
Mm.
But it's really powerful. Um, what are the kind of typical sort of things that you find that, if somebody has become aware of this, that they feel a kind of a need to sort of want to have a look at, their kind of living environment and the energy within. What are the kind of typical sort of, I don't know if you would say mistakes, or what are the kind of the common things that you tend to stumble across when you're doing what you do?
What if I'm doing a home analysis for somebody?
Yeah.
The mistakes. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say mistakes. I think it's just that people are unaware of certain things. So
Yeah.
there's so many tips and things that I could give you of things, of do's and don'ts of things in feng shui. Just as an example, if we were talking about your health and your mental health, that would cover the center part of your home. So
Okay.
if I very, very quickly rewind, what I would do is, when I'm doing a home analysis, one of the things that I would need from you, a piece of information, would be your floor plans. So I
Yep.
would need your address, I would need the date of when the house was built and things like that. But I need those floor plans. And then I divide those floor plans up into 9 squares or 9 rectangles. And those areas represent a different part of your life. So health is one of them, your career, your
Yep.
family, your love, your wealth, and so on. And if there are certain things or energy blockages within those areas, then it's going to affect that specific part of your life. Now, for example, and obviously we can't change certain things,
Yep.
but if your staircase is located right in the center of your house, then it's like you're going up and down the stairs, and it's almost like you might find that your health or your mental health is literally going up and down all the time. So, whilst we can't say, okay, go and move your staircase, there are things that we can do to remedy that and to soften and slow down that energy flow so that it's not literally going up and down, up and down. Another simple thing would be not to burn a candle in the center of your home, because that's like representing burning off that good health or burning off the energy of your mental health. So, there's just simple tips and things that I can sort of suggest of the do's and don'ts, but we could be here forever because I've got so many of those. You would
That's
simply
just
just
that's interesting because our stairs are in the middle of our house. It's quite a kind of a central aspect of it. So
yeah.
in terms of, what sort of things can you do to, I'm being selfish now, what sort of things can you do to kind of mitigate that sort of, up down? Because,
Yeah.
I must admit my health, mental health and everything tends to, be on a continual kind of roller coaster.
Well, a few little things that you can do to put in place. It might not necessarily completely override this, because obviously a
Sure,
home
sure.
analysis, we look at the entire home, and then
Yeah.
once you've placed all the remedies around the whole home, then that's going to support every single area. But a few things, you could literally place, if it's possible, a rug in that area. Again, the rug would absorb any of that energy coming in and just slow it down. You could do the same with a plant. So either at the top or both, the top and the bottom of the stairs, a
Okay.
nice soft leafy plant. We say nothing spiky because that kind of represents a sharp, spiky energy. So something
Okay.
that's soft and flowy. You could even place some crystals around that area as well.
Hmm.
So there's just a few little things that you can do just to help to slow that energy down.
And that's fascinating about the plant. So actually, we do have a plant which is quite soft and leafy at the top of the stairs. I'm just interested with it. So like spiky plants and things like that. Is there a role for things like that, or generally, are there certain kind of things that, are generally not good to kind of have around a place? Because I guess plants is quite an easy one, isn't it? Where they're mobile, you can pick something that you like or whatever. Um, are, are there kind of upsides to having spikes in other areas? Does it bring kind of drama, or is it just a bit of a
It,
no-no?
it's kind of a no-no.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a no-no. It's the same as and I was guilty of this because I didn't know this before I was trained. But if you've got in your kitchen one of those knife blocks, and you've got the knives that are out in
Yeah,
in a block, again, because your whole kitchen is known as a fiery area, because you've got a hob, you've got an oven, you've got a microwave, possibly the toaster. These are all fire energies, and so you might find that if you've got the knives out as well, again, that's quite a sharp, edgy energy. You might be finding that there's more arguments or bickering going on within that area. So
yeah.
there's just a few things. Again, I mean, a big, massive no-no would be artificial plants, because it's
Okay.
it's not it's not a real plant. It's replicating a plant. Get
Yeah,
rid, get rid.
yeah.
It's trying to be real, but it's not. So it's kind of a
And it's
dead
spiky.
energy.
Yeah.
It's just a dead energy. So that needs to go.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. IKEA plant. Your days are numbered. Next time you see me, I'm gonna have a different plant. Um, and can I ask just I guess specifically around sleep,
Yes.
because this is a big issue for my clients in terms of a lot of people historically have used alcohol to help them go to sleep. We know
Mm.
alcohol destroys the quality of sleep. Um, but those kind of early days of sobriety can feel quite rough because the anxiety levels tend to go up before they come down. I'm always talking to people about, almost treat yourself like a little baby, have a bath, change the sheets on the bed, whatever makes you feel good, about, snuggling up in bed. Are there kind of, and I know I really take what you're saying around every place is going to be different. Are there any kind of do's and don'ts that you can help that kind of, you know, are pretty reliable in terms of helping people create that calming environment if they're perhaps moving away from kind of using alcohol to kind of, make them fall asleep and also kind of coping with that disturbed sleep that might happen for a few weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we can do, there's so many things that we can do with the bedroom. So firstly, in an ideal world, and again, this is just an ideal world, don't worry if you can't go moving things around. You want to have your bed with the head, with your head, with like a nice hard solid wall behind you.
Yeah.
If you haven't got that, ideally a nice solid headboard that's behind you to give you that solidarity, that kind of secure feeling. Not that this is anything to do with feng shui, but I swear by grounding bed sheets as well. They're incredible. Just go and look up grounding bed sheets, because that just literally strips away any of that electricity that's all within us
Yeah.
that can cause so many issues. So have a look at some grounding bed sheets. um, Make sure, have a good look at what the artwork is doing in your room, if you have any. And especially, if it comes to younger people and they've got things on the wall and there's lots going on, whilst you might like that, it's actually a very busy energy.
Yeah.
So without you realizing it, that's a lot going on. And the same with your bed sheets. Try to have everything quite earthy, quite neutral. So it's really grounding.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I would try to say, if possible, not to have a mirror facing you or right behind you, because it can kind of give this feeling of anxiety, especially if it's behind you, because you're feeling like, I can't see who is behind me.
Okay.
So also, if your bed has drawers underneath it, or even if it's you've got like a void underneath your bed because it's slightly raised, have a good look and see what are you storing underneath your bed, because whatever is underneath your bed is an energy that's going to be coming up. So
Yeah.
there was one client and she stored her skis underneath her bed. So you can
Okay.
imagine skis, they're really sharp and edgy. So all of that
Yeah.
energy is coming up from underneath your bed. She couldn't sleep, she had anxiety, and as soon as that went, it really, really helped. So
Wow.
if you're going to store things under your bed, I would
Yeah.
say soft things, bedding, linen, those
Yeah.
sorts of things.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And colors, would colors matter in terms of, I guess, maybe with the same sort of, like the color of the wallpaper or the paint, again, earthy tones, things like that?
I would, if you're going to look at the colours and you want to change the colours, I would never tell a client to change it unless it was really, really affecting them. For example,
Okay.
if you've got red walls,
Yeah.
and you're wondering why on earth you can't sleep, or very, very like bright, like my daughter she's very into pink, she's only 9. And so one of the walls was intense bright
Okay.
pink.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She was struggling with her sleep, she was struggling with nightmares and all sorts of things. We changed the color of that and we did a lovely mint green in there. Things are so much calmer. But I
Interesting.
would never tell somebody to go and change things unless they were really, really struggling. So obviously, if
Okay.
it's very, very bright and you're struggling to sleep, I would just tone that down, look at earthy colors. The only one color that is kind of a bit of a feng shui rule that you don't have in your bedroom would be purple. And it's only simply because it kind of signifies a sexual tension or a
Okay.
frustration. So that would be the only reason why you would not have the purple. But in general, I would say earthy grounding colours in the bedroom. And again, don't have any photos of family in your room. I used to have pictures of my children on my windowsill. They've gone because, again, it's like inviting people into your bedroom, and you don't really want that.
Okay.
So there's obviously plenty of other places to put those
Yeah,
photographs within
yeah,
the
yeah.
house, but not in the
Yeah,
bedroom.
you don't want great Aunt Nelly sort of, looking that disapproving gaze or whatever. Yeah, I mean that kind of just makes absolute sense, really.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
you
then,
can also place affirmations. So you can place some really beautiful affirmations, write whatever you feel like writing down, and place it so it's in the present, write it, sorry, as if it's in the present.
yeah,
I'm sleeping soundly. I'm so grateful for this, 8 hours sleep that I'm getting, or whatever it is you want. And
yeah,
nobody has to see that. That can just be placed out of view,
yeah,
underneath something, and just have that in your bedroom. And I would really honestly swear by those things, as well as meditations and all
yeah.
sorts.
No, I'm totally. I am big on vision cards. I have all my vision cards around me, and all the affirmations are always written in the present tense.
Yeah,
And the beauty of it is they're not true yet, and then they all become true, and
yeah.
literally almost without fail. I really get that. And also, it's just, I'm really smiling when you said about the grounding sheets, because one of my recent group coaching cohorts, there was one lady who, like yourself, said, I got this thing and it changed everything in terms of putting this sheet on my bed where you're basically earthed. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'm a physicist by education. I can understand that. And then one of the other ladies who was on the call, she also bought one. And then a few weeks later came back and said, by the way, thank you, Anita, for the recommendation, because I've just put one on my bed and it has completely changed everything. And funnily enough, we were just talking about it on a Zoom a few days ago, and I was like, I, I really meant to go. I'll probably put a couple of links in the description of this video, because there was a website that she'd used, and I thought, you know what, that personal recommendation was, really strong. And there we go. I've now heard it 3 times now, so I literally cannot ignore that, and I need to take some action.
It's incredible. It's helped my son a lot. My son does. He's very very keen mountain biker,
Okay.
and they're doing a lot of jumps all the time. And
Yeah.
so he will often say that he gets a bit of backache. And I mean, he's only a child, so he shouldn't really be getting that. But since we've had this grounding sheet, he hasn't had it. Touch wood.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is amazing.
And kind of what are the kind of other, we talked about kind of do's and don'ts. What are the kind of the more common, I suppose, actionable items that you find that people are doing, that you're seeing, that are making a difference? If somebody's watching this and they're kind of thinking, yeah, I probably need to go and learn more, and we'll come back to how to get in touch with you and things like that shortly. But if they're looking for, what are the kind of the just the little things I can do without kind of putting myself under too much pressure to, you know, study or whatever. What are the kind of, the handy hints, I suppose, that you would give somebody?
Yeah, there's incredible handy hints. So one of the first things that I would suggest is, and you can do this every single day, start by opening your back door, your back windows, and just let that open for a couple of minutes. And what that will do out the back is it will let all of that negative energy go out the back door. Leave that for a few moments and then close it, and then open the front door or your front windows, because that's where all the positive energy comes in. So then you're literally allowing all that energy to surround your home, and you're kind of locking it in, if you like.
Okay, yeah.
Um, excuse me, as I was saying, like the front of your home is where all the positive energy comes in. So if you think of your front door, your front hallway area as like the mouth of all that positive energy, have a look and see, well, what on earth have I got around this area? Have I got tons of kids' shoes, or, you know, coats, bags, luggage, whatever it is that you've literally walked through the front door and dumped there?
Yeah.
That is a whole ton of energy that is just all sat there, and then it's going to go all the way through your home. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of people. I was chatting with a client the other day, and she said, but, you know, I have got like a coat peg and shoe boxes that are underneath where it all just gets chucked in. So ideally, if it can be hidden, or even if those shoes can have lids on the boxes, you're
Yeah.
trapping that energy inside. Um, so you can literally have a good look at the front part of your house,
Yeah.
and that's on the inside, but you can look at the outside too. The amount of people that I have seen with dustbins right outside the front of their house, and you've got to think, well, that is literally quite a waste energy. It's just
Yeah.
trash. And that again is coming into your house. Um, Placing toilet seats down all the time, because it's the toilet seat, sorry, rather the toilet is like a waste energy. So it's
Yeah.
like your health or your wealth, everything is just being drained away. So if you close the lid, then it's stopping that energy from draining away. Yeah, there's a good few
It's
little
definitely
things.
one for the blokes, isn't it? Really, it's kind of, you know.
Yes, I'm trying to tell this to my son and my husband all the time, but they aren't listening. But yeah, that's my job. I'm constantly going and putting them down.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, obviously you can head to my Instagram page and there are a million and one different tips, but I would definitely say to start with, by, you know, opening and closing the front and the back door, but also having a bit of a declutter. And whilst a lot of people go, oh my God, I don't know where to start, it's so important that we do declutter, because it's holding on to an old energy and it's
yeah,
making things stagnant. So it's not allowing for you to move forward. And if we're obviously looking at the work that you're doing, then people are wanting to move forward in their life. So
yeah,
if you've got things that are holding them back, for example, let's say it's an old relationship, an old job, it could be old photographs of yourself when you're in a place where you didn't necessarily like the place that you were in.
yeah.
I would suggest removing it from your home. And if you're not quite ready to get rid of it completely, put it in a garage if you can, or a shed, until you're really ready to completely get rid. And I would say the same about clothing as well, because
Yes.
it's holding on to a past energy and it's not allowing you to move forward. You know, I've got free downloads of what those 9 areas of your home mean, if anybody would like to have a look at that. But
Brilliant.
I would, once you know what those areas mean, so if we're looking at your health or we're looking at your career and moving forward, I would then just go around those areas and try and literally get your phone and place it flat in your hand with the compass app and find north, and literally walk as far north as you possibly can, and then you've got your north area, and that's your life's path, and that's your journey and your career. And you can place affirmations in each of those areas. That could be literally a first start for anybody. And this is on every floor that you live on. So if you've got a cellar and obviously you're not living in there, ignore it. The same with your loft. If it's not a loft bedroom and it's just the storage, ignore it. Just look at the levels that you live on.
So I'm interested about the north thing. So you're basically moving in a northerly direction, heading towards north. And so if you were putting affirmations, it would be things, so for example, on the north wall where, you know, you would see them as you are looking in a northerly direction. Is that, have I got you right there?
Yeah, so for example, you know, like you've got your compass in your hand and you're literally finding north wherever that may be, and just
Yeah.
walk as far as you possibly can until you hit that area. Um, it's only going to be rough because I literally would map your home properly and I would tell
Yeah,
you exactly where those different areas are on your floor plans. So, you know, when I was doing it before I was trained, I was guessing roughly where I thought it was, but I had a windowsill there so I could place things on a windowsill. It doesn't have to be on show, you know, if you're writing an affirmation out, because that's
yeah,
quite private. So it can be folded up and it can just be put in a little trinket box or something like that.
yeah.
However, if you want more of a visual affirmation, which again, I love. So if you're looking at, say, your career, and that comes under the north, let's, you know, ask yourself, what do you want to do in the future? What would your dream job be? And it doesn't have to be, you know, that far out. It doesn't matter what it is. Take a photo of something, have that visual affirmation there wherever it can be. And obviously if it is just a wall, then yeah, it's a bit of a struggle, but you know, you can just place that. If it was a wall and there was a curtain, you can place it behind the curtain on your wall. Nobody needs to know it's there apart from you, but that affirmation is in the right area and it will be working for you.
I absolutely love this. I mean, I'm such a huge fan of visual representations. It was interesting. My youngest son has just finished primary school, and they did a sort of a video presentation. And what they did was they asked all the year sixes what they wanted to be when they were older. So they got a picture of them all holding up a little sign with, I want to be a chef, want to be a doctor, and then they used AI to age them and create a visual representation. I mean, there was not a dry eye in the house.
Oh,
You talk about energy in terms of, um, and I saw my son there as a chef. Right now he wants to be a chef. To see
oh,
him as an older man,
oh
and you're
no.
just like, wow. And actually, given what you're saying, given the work that I do, that I know, I thought, I wonder if the school even understand how powerful
Mm.
what they've just done actually is in terms of installing some real clarity in somebody's brain
Yeah.
to do that. I said we've got to get a picture of that and and get that sort of just printed off where he can see it, or as you would say, in at least in the right part of the house to represent his journey.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, sometimes it's easy to be skeptical about this stuff. And as you say, this predates Western civilizations. Let's be really clear about that. We look at it like it's something new and fangled. And, this has been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah.
We're just maybe waking up to it a little bit more. But I
Yes.
think it's one of those things that when you get conscious contact with it and you start to just feel it and feel the difference, it's extraordinary. It's like, with me with the tapping, the first time I was kind of introduced to it, I thought this is a load of mumbo jumbo. And then I was in a situation where I needed something to dial out anxiety. And I was, oh, where's that book? And I went, did it. And when I actually felt it working, I was like, okay, I'm sold. This is probably, and I would argue that's probably one of the most important things I've ever learned in my life. A bit like, what you're saying about your passion about this issue. And I think it's when you suspend your skepticism enough to just give this stuff a try and see, and you get curious about it, then the results can be massive and inexplicable. You just kind of go, I don't know why this works, but I don't need to know why it works. It
But it
just
does.
works. Yeah, exactly.
But this is the thing, there are so many. If you look into the amount of celebrities and people in power that use feng shui, it's quite mind blowing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when I
yeah.
was going through the amount of people and I saw that Donald Trump had written, I don't believe it, I don't get it, but I do it because it makes me money, then, you know, that's
Yeah,
why he's doing it. You know, at the end of the day, like I say, it's there to help with each and every part of your life.
Yeah,
So, and what we'll find, and especially with sort of holistic therapies, is that people have tried probably every single thing, and it's like, oh, it's not working. Do you know what? I'm at the end of my tether. I've got to give it a go. And
yeah,
actually, I was working with somebody a few months back, and they were having struggles with their young son. They were also having struggles as a couple, but also the husband was out of work. And she said, do you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just give it a go. And what the struggles were, we were mainly working on was for the son. I
okay,
actually didn't know anything about her husband's work at this point. We were looking at her little boy because he was waking without fail every single night, like between sort of 10 and midnight. And it was disturbing everybody. And he would be
yeah, yeah, yeah,
crying, and they just didn't know what on earth was wrong. And, we've obviously done a real deep analysis. We've placed the specific remedies that we need to put within the home. And it was showing, because I can do readings of what those energies are. And it was showing that there was a lot of tension. There were a lot of accidents within the home. And there had been some very, very serious accidents in that house.
okay,
Um, and so once we'd done all of this, he started to sleep through the night again. And I don't know how long it took, maybe a good few weeks before everything starts to settle down, because this isn't necessarily an instant overnight,
sure,
magic is going to happen. It's energy and it needs to settle. But
yeah,
he's sleeping and it's incredible. But what we also worked out was there was issues within their career area. And like I say, I had no idea that her husband, he'd left his job, but then he struggled to find a new job. And he was about 4 months out of work. And so they were starting to panic.
yeah,
Anyway, we've literally put things into place. I think he was slightly skeptical at first. He was like, I don't get it, I don't get it. I said, look, you don't have to get it. Let's just
yeah, yeah, yeah,
let's just do it. And he said, look, I'm up for anything. I don't get it, but I'm up for it. And
yep,
so he was really very willing. And I went round their house the other day, and he was like, let me show you where we've put this and this, and things are working so well. He literally got a job within weeks.
yeah,
So, and for him to actually come to me and say, I can feel it, it feels calm. We've had people come around our house and say, wow, they can feel, it's a
yeah,
feeling. It's a
yeah,
feeling. You can
exactly.
feel that difference. And that's what's incredible.
And we are feeling creatures, and you'll know this. You walk into somebody's house and you're kind of like, ooh, there's just something not right here. I don't quite like. You won't be able to put your finger on it, and then there'll be other people that you go into their home and it just feels relaxing. It feels nice. You feel safe.
Yeah.
And again, it's all at a very subconscious level. You can't quite explain it, but it's like the old saying, isn't it? You don't when it comes to people, you don't like or dislike anybody. You like or dislike how you feel when you're around them,
Yeah.
and how they make you feel. Look,
Mm.
I could talk about this all day long. I'm fascinated by all of the, and I see so many times the kind of the profound things. It's like you're saying about that guy that got a job and all this. When you just remove the blockage and you stop rejecting everything, all of a sudden it's almost like the universe has been sort of sitting waiting, and it's kind of like, for goodness sake, will you just, and then when everything aligns, it just won't flow, as you said
Yeah.
right at the outset. And it's just like, wow, I've been making life really hard for myself, and actually it doesn't have to be this way. And
Mm.
life goes up and down, of course, and things happen and all that kind of stuff, but I'm a total believer that there are so many things you can do to make it easier and flow more. So if somebody
Yeah.
wants to learn more, to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Is it through Insta? What's the best? I'll put everything down in the in the
Yeah.
um the description. But
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, if you can put it all in the description, that would be
yeah,
great. But I'm mainly on Instagram, but I do have a landing page as well. So if people aren't on social media, then they can get me there as well. Um, And I've also got a Facebook page. So the Facebook and the Insta are both under Guiding Stars Feng Shui.
Okay.
But yeah, like you say, it will all be in the show notes. I've got recorded meditations in there. I've got free downloads. So there's
Okay.
lots of different things that you can go and have a look at with the link in the bio.
Fantastic. Well, that's been fascinating. Thank you so much for making a bit of time for this today. I think, this kind of stuff just needs to be um, let's say, reintroduced to Western society because it's not new and it's very basic stuff. But we've just kind of lost sight of it and become a bit skeptical in our pursuit of things and instant gratification and all this kind of stuff. So I really appreciate it. Any other kind of final thoughts from you before we kind of sign off here?
Final thoughts. Just go for it. Don't wait
Yeah.
around. If you're feeling that you want, to move forward in your life, or you're just feeling like things aren't quite right, then just get in touch.
Fab. Look, Corrina, thank you. That's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for your time, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you very soon.
Thank you.